We are live. It is not 11 a.m. yet, so we're going to ramble, Paul. We're going to ramble. And I also realize I want to be recording this. So while I'm getting that together, my friend, how are you today?
I'm on cloud nine, and rambling is something that I excel at. So this is perfect.
Oh, that is good. I mean, let us just continue on with that. Oh, here it is. Here's the record button. All right. Thank you. Thank you. So listen, I have something before we start really officially at 11. I have some beef with you, and maybe you'll fix this. Some beef to talk about here. This t-shirt that I'm wearing of yours, it's the What's Good apparel for your brand, my friend Paul. Do you have capped sleeves for the ladies?
Ooh.
The ladies like capped sleeves.
I do not have capped sleeves, but I'm sure I could make that happen.
My friend, you need to get capped sleeves. Now, I don't have some really like toned fit arms, although I do hope I can one day. Show us, as a matter of fact, talking about guns, arms. Let me see yours. Come on. Come on.
Man,
Come on. Give me some. I mean, there you go. And while I don't need that, I am gonna, work on some tone. And I would love this t-shirt in a capped sleeve. That's all I'm saying. I was going to do the roll-up thing, but I'm like, that's just going to get all weird. So here I am. And we are going to talk about what's good, right? That sounds good to me.
That's first of all, being here is what's good, but also just carrying on your theme of the what's good shirt and cap and the sleeves. Our children, 7 and 10 respectively, have been asking for child sizes for some time. So I have quite the to-do list, Mirjana.
Yes, you do. You do. Clearly, you have fans everywhere. I mean, I believe you throw these shirts out into the audience, you wrap them up, you toss them out. Actually, I don't know. I can't recall. Do you do that? I'm trying to remember if I've seen you do that.
The biggest challenge with giving t-shirts out is inevitably you're going to disappoint somebody on size.
Right. And be like, why did he toss me an extra large? I mean, what is up with that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Which ties in directly to our mental health discussion here in a bit. And how we see ourselves.
Wait, how we see ourselves. Yeah, that is true. And how others see us. That is a big one. I'll say, I have to say, before we kick off officially in the next 2 minutes, that piece of conversation, especially for women, it's just like, oh my God, I'm so fat, I'm so this, I'm so that, right? And it could be the thinnest person. I've finally over the years realized I just say, hey, I understand. Like, I used to be the person that's like, oh my God, are you crazy? Like, what are you thinking? You are gorgeous. You are like this beautiful size. You are all these things. And it doesn't matter because people don't hear it. And if they don't see it in themselves, I've done it where people have said that back to me too. And I'm like, no, but for what I see myself, where I want to be, and I mean, it's just a fascinating conversation about, is it about trying to be happy exactly in the moment of where we are? I don't know, trying to have the strategies.
I think to your point, though, it's very difficult and near impossible to argue anybody's perspective or point of view on how they see themselves, right?
Yeah.
Specifically because we're so emotionally attached to ourselves and our life experience. And so being with ourselves every waking and sleeping moment for our whole lives, no one knows us better than us. So to have a complete stranger say, well, that's not who I believe you are, or that's not how I see you, it's very difficult for some to accept, especially when we are hypersensitive to our own insecurities and faults.
So true. So true. Well, here we are. We're seconds away. So I think I'm gonna kick in. It doesn't have to be exactly at 11, does it?
Jump in.
We just go. All right, it is 11. Good morning, everyone, or good evening, wherever you might be watching on LinkedIn Live, because, Paul, everybody is watching. Everybody is watching.
Yeah.
I am so excited to have this gentleman on with me today. This is Paul J. Long. He is an incredible transformational culture expert. We're going to get into all the things. I am wearing a t-shirt that says "What's Good," which is a big mantra. It is part of Paul's brand. We're going to talk about all of that. But what I want to share with everyone today is that when Paul and I met a couple of years ago, And I was watching him, go out speaking to lots of different companies globally, all around the world, talking about this message. One of the things that struck me is I thought, gosh, she's so dynamic on stage, right, Paul? You are so dynamic on stage. You have so much energy. Everything is joy and positivity, which I love. But I thought to myself, how many people are understanding the underlying levels of that, the nuance to what you're doing? You are not just this guy who comes out full of energy to excite the 8 a.m. crew or the 2 p.m. crew after lunch that is sleeping, right? You are a person that really, this idea of fun and good is, as we will get into, a vehicle for getting to the really important thing, which is fulfillment, which is also tying into this month's theme about mental health and well-being, and how this is the new superpower for business professionals. So I'm really excited to be, unpacking all of that with you today, my friend. And, with that, welcome.
Well, thank you. Likewise, Mirjana, you're an individual that literally makes every person that you interact with feel like they are the most valuable and important person in the room or the world. So one of the reasons why I love chatting with you, hanging with you, collaborating with you, bouncing ideas off one another, is because you create this energy. And when people feel good and when people feel appreciated, good things happen. And that's the environment that you create, which is the perfect jumping off point for mental health awareness and this conversation and the power that we all hold in driving outcomes and life experience.
Yes, thank you so much for that. I honor that. Thank you. I mean, it has been really something, having these conversations with you. And I think where I really want to start is your background. What I also found so fascinating is, and you could share more of the details, but you worked for a call center for many years, managing, was it up to 3,000 people at one time, but managing a whole heck of a lot of people in a call center. And we know what kind of work that is. It can be hard. It can be hard to put a good smile on your face. It can be hard to keep picking up that phone. And I just kind of want to start there because I just feel like you were in it with people. You saw it daily, what the grind is, how people get out of the grind. And part of the work you do today, I believe, was born from those years of that work. Can you share a little bit of that backstory?
Absolutely. So my first job out of college was an underwriter in a Fortune 300 insurance company. But that was just a career that, like so many of us, I fell into, right? I had so many hours, under my belt at university. I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't know what I was going to do. I took the LSAT to potentially go to law school because I thought my dad had always told me I'm a great arguer. So maybe that's the route that I should go. I did well enough to get into a law school, but I realized that that's not necessarily something that I want to do for the rest of my life. So I took the first job that offered me, and that was an underwriter. And for those of you that don't know, underwriting is very analytical. You're deep into the details and structure of policies and regulations and all that stuff. Newsflash, I am not that.
The bow tie didn't fit in? The bow tie didn't fit in? Come on.
I don't, as I'm sure you're well aware, Mirjana, I don't thrive in structure. I'm an individual that likes to be in the moment, that likes to connect with individuals. And so while on the surface, underwriting policies sounded like something that I wouldn't vibe with, what I did vibe with is the ability to connect with people. Because that's what we did all day, every day. We took call after call after call after call from agents or customers talking about why life wasn't working the way that they wanted it to. Why we canceled their policy and potentially kept them from getting a bonus this particular month. Why without this policy, their home is uninsured and now there's additional risk in their life, which causes a lot of mental strife and challenge. And so these were the interactions that I had on a regular basis. And what was fun to me was to take this individual that was clearly going through something tumultuous and finding a way to lift them up a little closer to where I was when we got on the call, when we get off the call, right? And typically speaking, I'm pretty happy-go-lucky. Mirjana, you know that, but I, like so many, I have dark days. And I think my philosophy on life and my philosophy in business at Farmers Insurance it really was created long before I got employed, long before I went to UMKC or Johnson County Community College. It started in childhood, right? And seeing individuals in my life that modeled the behaviors that I wanted to see and become, and those that didn't, quite honestly. And these are individuals that were very, 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 very close to me. And I'd love to open up and get vulnerable about that experience. But before I do, most recently, I was talking to a speaker by the name of Dima Gowie, who I'm sure you've met, Marjana.
Yeah.
And we got the opportunity to connect at the Arizona SHRM, and we, several weeks later, we were debriefing the experiences, and she's so kind. She was showering me with praise, and she said, you know, Paul, one thing that I would like to see from you is I would like to see you open up about why you are the way that you are. You know, people see you and your enthusiasm and your brightness and your spirit, and it might be difficult for them to comprehend how they could be that, because it appears that you're just always that way, and it's hard to relate to, and you don't have any troubles in life. Well, you and I both know that that's not true and can't possibly be true. Everybody on this planet has gone through something, is going through something, or will go through something. And in my experience, what I found is just sharing and opening up about all the crap that's going awry in my life typically doesn't move myself or anyone forward. So I like to shower people with praise, give appreciation, create an environment where people feel comfortable being authentic and creating happiness for themselves. It's not to say that life doesn't, create challenge, or that we're not all going through darkness. But I think that if we could find a way to gravitate more towards what's good, like your shirt says, Marjana, then maybe, just maybe, some of the challenges will be mitigated.
So you bring up the vulnerability, the things from the past. I wasn't planning on going there, but let's go there a little bit, because we know a little bit of each other's pasts and stories. I have a past with that. I've never really talked about it openly, but an abusive dad, like deeply abusive. I think a lot of people do. And I too, like you, I'm just a happy-go-lucky person, have been somehow. I had certain bit of my faith that helped me with that. As a young kid, I often prayed in my room because there was nobody else to listen, I felt, but God. I still to this day will have my prayers, right? I don't actively go to church per se, but I have the faith, right? And I feel that helped. Good friends along the way helped, but really for you, can you share a little bit of what you would like to share, what any of the hardship was for you and what helped you through it? Because it is true. Sometimes people just are like, even my own brother who lived through the same household is always like, it is sunshine and blue skies for you your whole life. And he knows what I went through specifically. I know what he went through. And he's like clouds and rainstorms. And the only thing I could say is it's because I just see sunshine and blue skies. That's what I want to live in. So I have to go forth in my day to feel it and be it. And I don't know where I got the strength to do it, but yeah, because you are exceptional at it at a whole other level, my friend.
Well, I greatly appreciate you saying that. And it sounds like your family dynamic with your sibling is very similar to mine. And likewise, so is the way that we were raised. So I too had a father that wasn't physically abusive, but was very verbally abusive. He would talk down to us. He would curse a lot. He was always frustrated, and it wasn't frustrated with us. It was frustrated with his circumstances in life. Now, my father, first and foremost, I just have to say, was as gregarious as they come. He was the brightest light in any room. He was so funny, so humorous. My personality was gifted to me by my amazing father. But like so many, my father also struggled with darkness, right? It struggled with addiction. I mean, from high school on, he was always addicted to something. One of his highlights in life was selling an 8-ball of cocaine to a very significant musician. And these are the things that he spoke about openly. Oh, one day I could distinctly recall we had these 3 iguanas. I had this big old iguana cage in my room. It was Cheech, Chong, and Godzilla. Godzilla was the huge one, as I'm sure you could picture. But I come in from school and my dad is laying on the floor in my room and he's smoking pot, blowing the smoke into the iguana cage. or the iguana cage. Now, I mean, I have to look back at this and say, that's hilarious, right? Like it's funny, but looking back on my childhood, these are moments, right? These are behaviors that I'm seeing out of my parental leader, and it's establishing the foundation for my belief system. So as time went on, my dad ultimately ended up getting this really debilitating back disorder, and he filed for disability, and he gave up in life. Like he literally quit his job. We had a recliner that he sat in consistently. He was always hopped up on pain pills. I mean, Marjana would be awake for 48 hours at a time and then sleep for 72 hours at a time.
Wow. How old were you when that started to happen?
So I would say I was probably 15, 16 when that started happening. But ultimately, the final years of his life, he passed away 2 weeks after his 60th birthday. And the final years of his life, roughly 10, were just him chilling in a recliner, just downing 2-liter bottles of Coke and lighting one cigarette with the next. It was just a life that no person should have to live or desire to live. Now, I have to repeat, I am who I am because of my father, because of the good that he passed along to me through DNA and modeling great behaviors and how to interact with people and show a genuine interest. But I'm also who I am because I saw my father in his opportunity gaps, and I saw his ability to become addicted to things. And I saw how he dealt with tumultuous times. And I never wanted to be like that. So it helped shape who I am. Now, fast forward, I too have a sibling. We have the same DNA, same mother, same father. I, like you, am rainbows and butterflies, although I do have very, very, very dark days. And the reason why I am the way that I am is because I know what it feels like to not gravitate deliberately towards the things that give me strength. And so a sibling of mine is an individual like your brother that feels as though there's a lot of darkness and clouds and rain around him all the time. And so recently he says, Paul, life can't be, to your point, Marjana, all rainbows and butterflies. He says, how many people, Paul, do you know? How many people do you know that have had a car stolen from the driveway of their home 3 times? 3 times he's had a car stolen from in front of his house. And so I said, well, Chris, probably the same amount of people that I know that leave their keys in the ignition in their driveway in front of their house every single night. And wow. So the moral of the story, of course, you've already grasped, is oftentimes we feel as though we are a victim of circumstance, of our environment, right? But we don't always understand or comprehend the power that we have in owning our situation. And sometimes we're manifesting on the outside, consciously and subconsciously, what we're feeling on the inside. And so my question to most of you watching this right now, are you leaving the keys in the ignition for other people to drive your life experience? Or are you owning that and realizing that it's not your job? It's not the company culture. It's not your boss. It's not your spouse. It's not it's not everybody in your life. It's you. We make choices. Life is filled with insignificant and significant moments. And so how do we get very deliberate, both at work and at home, at magnifying or amplifying the good experiences while mitigating the bad? And as I turn it back over to you, Marjana, I want to be clear. I'm not saying let's sweep all the stuff that's not working under the rug and act like it doesn't exist. What I am saying is when we go through these tumultuous times, we have to ask ourselves questions like, how did I get here? What role did I play in creating this environment in which I'm living or suffering through right now? It's important that we grieve if necessary. That's important in the development process. But then ultimately, we have to move on because you can't get anywhere in life by consistently focusing on the past.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me too of a dear friend of mine, an industry colleague, Sonia Denise. If you're watching, my friend, she said that she's also incredibly just passionate, powerful woman. And she said the same thing. She's like, if I walk outside and it starts raining, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not saying the heavens have opened up on me. Look at my bad luck. She says, maybe next time I should look at the weather and bring an umbrella.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's so true. And and we'll move on from this, but what I think is so important, especially during Mental Health Awareness Month and beyond, because one of the things we want to remind everyone watching this is that we are talking about mental health in a way where it is an experience and lived experience for all of us. We all have a childhood trauma potentially. And I've lately been saying, even if that childhood trauma is as simple as on a Sunday night, you have a blissful family, everything is great. But on a Sunday night, everybody in the household is like, oh my God, it's Monday tomorrow. Oh my God, I don't want to go to work. Oh my God, I don't want to go to school. Like that to me is the setup. Years and years of that programming sets you up for not having a happy Monday. It's like before I started this agency, I loved my jobs all the time, but I would still have the Monday blues, and I told myself, I want to get to a place where Monday is the happy day, right? And that is, so let's talk about that, because obviously there's so many people that, again, whatever is happening at home, whatever is happening at work, how can people start to, reframe these conversations that they're having with themselves and start to bring in like fulfillment? That is the word, my friend, that is yours, that whenever I talk about you, you are the guy who is bringing that superpower to organizations everywhere. And that is the big culture changer as far as I'm concerned. So let's just unpack that wherever you'd like to start.
I mean, I think we should start with circling back to your original question in my employment in corporate America. Because at that time, I had everything that I thought society had convinced me would make me happy. I had the title, I had the salary, I had the bonus structure. I had everything that I thought. I had the house, right? We lived in Portland, Oregon, brand new baby girl. I'm married and still am married to the girl of my dreams, the person that I always wanted to be with. Like I had everything that society had convinced me would make me happy, but I was miserable. I went home every single night and I thought about, and what weighed heavily on me was the thoughts of everybody else and how to create joy, fun, and fulfillment for them. Because as a leader, you had mentioned, leading 3,000 people. I was leading the performance management strategy of thousands of people, right? So what that means is that we were transitioning from metric-based performance and just strictly, leveraging your performance based on numbers, right? And associating how well you're doing with strictly what the number says, to transitioning that more towards a behavioral management strategy, right? Where we really dove in and we understood that it's not that I'm at a 75% adherence to my schedule, so I'm not performing. It's that I am not where I need to be when I need to be there to support our customers and to provide value as we set forth. So all of this weighed very, very heavily on me. And we have this brand new baby girl, and I'd go home every single night and I would drink heavily and I wouldn't be present with my family. My wife, she had no friends in Portland, Oregon. We picked up from Kansas City where we reside and we moved out there for this job. So she had this beautiful baby girl, little Adeline Grace, and me. But when I get home at night, I wasn't even present like so many people watching this feel each and every single day. And so I'll never forget, Marjana, I'll never forget. My wife looks at me one day and I got tears in my eyes. I am overwhelmed. And she says, Paul, the world needs fundamentalism, but nobody needs it more than you. And in that moment, it hit me. For years and years and years, I've been waiting on everything else, all these external forces to create joy, fun, and fulfillment for me. I thought, well, if indeed I could get everybody to buy into this company culture, if I could get my peers and senior leadership to buy in, if we could alter the course of how we're set up and the culture of this organization, well, then maybe I'd feel better. Maybe I would have more time in the day to spend being present with my friends and family. But that never happened. And I was never truly fulfilled. And so ultimately, I had to accept the fact that joy, fun, and fulfillment, the word that means so much to you that you just referenced, it's not from external sources. It's not your boss. It's not your team. It's not your business partner. It's not your spouse. It's not your kids. It comes from your heart and your brain. And so finding ways to deliberately realize that your thoughts don't control you. You control your thoughts. Now, I know that's controversial because there are a lot of chemical imbalances, things that specifically drive outcomes in your life, in your experience, and how you walk about your day. But I firmly believe that we have more power in controlling our thoughts that we believe than we do. So how do we do it, right? That's the question that people are consistently asking.
Yeah. And before we get to that, I want to, I think what's really important here too is there are a lot of people struggling with this. And what we're not saying is, hey, you have to quit your job. Like you wound up ultimately quitting your job, changing your life, doing all of that. I think where everybody is, it's like, how can we find fulfillment in that? Now, some cases you might have to quit your job. It's just, untenable to be there. But in most cases, and I wonder if you agree, and you're out there talking to people all the time, I think in most cases, people just want to find that fulfillment right where they are, where in their home, in their work, they want to be valued and feel valuable. But to your point, that value starts intrinsically, right? It's within. So how do you make the shift? And you have so many great strategies, but listening, connection, different, but what's the first step? And what's that?
Well, I think the first step in driving outcomes is realizing that we have to own our experience in life. And it's funny, when we first started working together, we got on an agent call, an exploratory call, where this wonderful agent was analyzing my material, right? And telling me what works and what's kind of played out. And one of the fundamentals that we talk about, if you recall, was be the change that you wish to see. And this particular individual said that everybody's saying that, be the change that you wish to see. What's funny is be the change is commonly attributed to Gandhi as a quote that he said. He didn't say be the change that we wish to see in the world. He never said that. He said, if we change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. And so what that means to me is that if we want more joy, fun, fulfillment, enroll in your current job, in life, in your current relationship, or as a parent or sibling, when you're out at the grocery store, connecting with a cashier, the best way to create fulfillment and outcomes on the outside is demonstrate what you're looking for, right? To simplify it, be the change that you wish to see. So you said, how do I get more appreciation at work? Surefire way to get more appreciation at work. You know what it is? Give more appreciation. Give more appreciation. Rashana, you're somebody that I know, because I've seen it with mine own two eyes, that people shower with praise. Do you know why people shower you with praise? Because you are so quick to let others know how valuable they are to you. You are so great at shining a light on other people that a byproduct of that is we feel good and we feel willing to share back with you and get emotionally connected because you said something to us that we needed in that moment. If you're looking for true joy, fun, and fulfillment, the first step to answer your question explicitly is to create it, own it, and be the change that you wish to see.
Thank you for that. That's something new. I'm just trying to take the moment and accept those beautiful words. I really appreciate you for that. Thank you so much. By the way, you mentioned how even at the cashier, right? I have to just share really quickly. I was at Whole Foods. I actually posted about this on my LinkedIn. I was at Whole Foods with my daughter a couple of weeks ago, and we had an exchange. I won't labor this here with the details of the exchange, but we had an exchange with the cashier there, Alicia, who was amazing. And the way the exchange happened, and again, it's posted, my daughter walked out with me and she goes, I really like her, Mom. I want a friend like that. And here's the thing about culture. Just imagine, here is this complete stranger. Do you know that now I go into Whole Foods on the days that I know Alicia is there. Not only that, my daughter and I were there a week ago. There was the longest line in Alicia's. There was a shorter line somewhere else. And even Sophia was like, oh, Mom, there's Alicia. Let's go wait in her line. I was like, absolutely. No questions asked. I will wait in this longer line for her. So I'm like thinking everybody in organizations out there, right, Paul, what you were talking about here, imagine creating that within your organization, that every employee together, colleagues want to work together that way. They want to show up early for each other. They want to not stay late. Like we all want to make sure we're balancing life. I don't want anyone overworking here. I want people curating a life. That's my new language, by the way, Paul. It's curating a life. But isn't that phenomenal? That's what we could do with complete strangers. I feel bonded to this complete stranger. How many people are working a job for 10 years now and aren't bonded to a single person at their company?
And how many people don't know how to genuinely bond with others?
Yeah.
See, I think that's another technique, right? A tactic that, if deliberate, in creating meaningful interactions, the experience that we live would vary dramatically. And so in the keynote, which you've seen and you've heard countless times, the main foundational fundamental of fundamentalism that we talk about is creating meaningful interactions. And it's what you said that Alicia did. Mm-hmm. It's an individual that is present. She makes you feel some type of way. She makes you feel connected. Now, consistently, we walk in the door at our respective office or place of business, and we ask a question. It's so tired, right? We ask this question to spark conversation. We ask it 20 times a day. We are asked it 20 times a day. That tired old question, we believe, is going to create conversation, but it doesn't. It actually, it stifles conversation. And ultimately that question is, how you doing today? How's it going? How are you? Right? And the answers that we get, Rajana, are what? You hear them consistently. What?
Good. Fine.
Good. Right. Fine. Great. Right. But what if we dared to be different? And so in creating meaningful interactions, it's about getting people to deliberately focus for a brief moment on what's good in their day. And so imagine if we were this deliberate, whether you're on a sales call, a prospecting call, whether you're in a performance review, whether you just walk into your office in any given day, whether you walk in at the end of the night to see your lovely spouse who's been waiting on you to have a conversation. Imagine if we were this deliberate every single interaction, that we sought out one of three desired outcomes. How do I make somebody smile, laugh, or feel appreciated in any given conversation? That's creating meaningful interactions. How can I make somebody smile, laugh, or feel appreciated in any given interaction? If we were to be that intentional in every conversation that we had, well, you know what? Monotony would be challenged. We would be more present. We would be more joyous. We would be more fulfilled because we wouldn't hear drama nonstop. We would be creating an environment that literally is overflowing with goodness. And that's creating meaningful interactions.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That is so good. By the way, I remember when we first had the conversation about hey, how's it going? And also the questions like, oh man, the weather, or how's your job? Like, how are things at work? Simple questions like that. And I remember specifically asking you, but Paul, sometimes that's just the comfortable question. How do you make it better? Like, and you gave it just a little more detail. Yeah. Share that little twist, because honestly, that changed it for me. I do the little twist and it opens up a whole different kind of conversation.
Yeah. So before I give the answer to your question, I think it's clear, or it's really important to understand that the only twist that you're talking about is just, instead of going surfacey, dig a little bit deeper, right? So how's the family is a question that we ask consistently. Stop asking the question, how's the family? Because the answers are the same as how's your day? Good, fine, or great. It could be, hey, what's something funny that the kids have done recently? What's the most impactful vacation that you went on with the family recently? Hey, what's something going on that's super meaningful with your family right now? See, all I'm doing is taking this concept of family and being more explicit in driving deeper conversation. It's not how's work. It's, hey, what's a project right now that you're excited to be working on? It's, hey, who's one of your coworkers that you genuinely connect with? Who's somebody in your office that makes you smile or laugh consistently, and why? Now you're uncovering things. You're forcing people to deliberately think about something that makes them smile.
Yeah. And it brings a whole another depth of conversation and connection, which is the most important thing. And I know there's all the chemical release of connection and all that goodness. You know, there's another strategy that is really important that I want you to share. And I know we have to be mindful of time, but I could just be hanging out, get a bowl of popcorn, just like hang out with you all day and just be talking. But nobody wants that. So anyway, it's about listening. You have a very wonderful way of framing what listening is about. Do you want to reframe that for us here?
For sure. So one of my favorite fundamentals is listen with intent. So if we're setting an outcome and creating meaningful interactions to help somebody smile, laugh, or feel appreciated any given day, and we're doing so by asking questions that force them to think about things that invite happiness into their day, well, then we have to be willing to listen to the answers, but not listen like we often do with the desire to respond. You could always tell when somebody's asking you a question only to set up what they want to say, right?
What? Wait, yeah. I have something to say here.
Exactly, right? They get that quiver lip.
Yeah, it's
yeah, that's exactly right. But so my setup oftentimes is I display a collage of individuals that have made me laugh throughout the years, specifically stand-up comedians or old SNL characters, Maya Rudolph and Kristen Wiig, Robin Williams and Dave Chappelle and Stephen Wright and Joan Rivers and my favorite comedian of all time, Mitch Hedberg, right? And so we talk about the power that these individuals have. And mind you, a lot of stand-up comedians specifically and entertainers in general, we're so great at showering others with light, mainly because we struggle in darkness. And so the way that we feel better is to create light, right? Like Robin Williams famously passed away because he was dealing with his own stuff. Mitch Hedberg, the same exact way. Heath Ledger, the same exact way. All of these individuals, they're individuals that give people joy, that create moments of experience, but all the while they're struggling just like everybody else does. And so for me, when I'm struggling, I deliberately invite comedy into my day. And so with listening with intent, when I tune into stand-up comedy or old SNL episodes, Mirjana, I'm tuning in with a very specific intent, low-hanging fruit. What's my intent when I tune into comedy?
Belly laughing.
I just want to laugh. I just want a hearty diaphragm belly laughing. And so you are a big music fan. I am a big music fan. Like, music makes me feel. Why do you listen to music? What does it do for you?
Yeah, it's transcendent. As people laugh at me, I will walk down the street and like twirl sometimes with the right song. I'm that person.
So you're an individual, I'm an individual that we listen to music to escape, to move, to sing, to feel, right? To get lost in lyrics. So the question is this: if we listen to stand-up comedy or watch SNL to laugh, that's the intent, right? To laugh. If we listen to music to feel, to escape, to move, to sing, what's our intent when we're listening to the individual at our job when we ask them the question, how's it going today? Are we listening with a genuine intent to connect, to understand, to create a meaningful interaction? Or are we listening to respond, or to check the box, or to fulfill some level of agenda, or convey our perspective or opinion upon them? Imagine if we were so deliberate listening to the people right in front of us as we are our favorite stand-up comedian or our favorite musician. Relationships would be so much more fruitful as a result.
You're right. I'm just going in with that, even that positive energy, not just sitting there being critical or listening with a critical mind and that kind of thing. Really quick, we have to talk about the bow tie, my friend, because we haven't done that. And it is kind of part of who you are, but there's a very special message behind why you wear the bow tie. And, I think it's time that the world gets to know why does Paul Long wear a bow tie?
Well, as you know, my speaking journey has been really, really interesting. I've been very deliberate in branding myself as this fun and enthusiastic guy. And as such, people sometimes see a bow tie, or they see the Jordans, or they see my bright colored shirts, or they see how I carry myself, and they say, oh, our organization doesn't need fun right now. They're struggling with mental health. Or our organization needs to take ownership, or our organization needs a sales or a leadership speaker. Well, here's the interesting thing. I talk about all of that, but it's hard sometimes when we make judgments because we see somebody as something on the outside that we can't get through to really see the substance on the inside. So that is what I am doing here. I am very deliberate in wearing bow ties and bright shirts and colorful shoes for multiple reasons. First and foremost, I travel all the time. I met an individual by the name of Corlinda yesterday in Iowa City. And she goes, somebody understood the assignment. And I go, oh, what do you mean? She was like, I love your outfit. She was like, is this a shtick? Why do you do this? I said, because, well, in all my travels, somebody like you, Corlinda, always comes up to me and they say something to the extent of, do you tie your own bow tie? She goes, oh, you do? Can you do that for me right now? And I said, yeah. So I tied it for her, right? So ultimately, a bow tie or a bright shirt or some shoes, all it does is it creates an environment where somebody might feel comfortable creating a meaningful interaction with me. So they deliberately ask a question like, do you tie your own bow ties? How many of those shirts do you have? How many pairs? Are you a sneakerhead? And now all of a sudden, I've created connection. We've created connection with an individual. The second reason why I like to wear these shirts is because I know organizations are trying to get their employees to limit judgment. But yet, what's interesting about that is sometimes I won't get booked because of judgment. And so all of a sudden, if I could get on stage and I could show folks that I'm not just a blowhard. I'm not a benchmark for fun because nobody could define your fun better than you. I'm just me. And I am whatever you see me as. If you see me as a blowhard, if you see me as overly enthusiastic, if you see me as somebody that's going to be a waste of your time for the next 60 minutes, well, guess what? Here I am. But if you see me as a vehicle, somebody that could potentially arm you with very tactical tips to improve your quality of life and your mental health, well, I could be that too. I am whatever you see me as. And so are your customers, and so are your friends, and so is your family, and so are your business partners, and so is the cashier that you run into each and every single day when you go to your favorite store.
That's it. And that is why we need to see everyone with eyes of curiosity and wonder instead of anything else, you know? And circling back again to the theme here, we had, as with you and a few of the other speakers we're speaking with this month, we talked about this idea about it's mental health is the new superpower for business professionals. Can you just share in closing what your feeling is about that in whole again, and why it's so important that people like you're not a psychologist, you're not a psychiatrist, but you have a message and a big one. Again, for me, it is fulfillment is the biggest one. There's so much packed into it, but that is all about well-being, mental health. And that is the superpower everybody needs. That is my feeling about it. But how do you kind of package all of that?
Yeah. So circling back to where we started, when I first started working at Farmers Insurance, I worked my way up the corporate ladder, and it took years and years. I was there for 11 plus years, right? But during that time, when I was out in Portland, Oregon, I woke up one morning to a multitude of text messages and phone calls from my family. And so I roll over at 6:30 a.m. and I see literally 30 text messages and 15 missed calls. I call my sister and she says, Paul, you need to get home. Dad passed away. And so I go full on like, got to figure this out. Got a brand new baby, got to figure out flights, got to get home as quick as possible so I could help with the funeral services. Flights, Mirjana, are absolutely ridiculous. So I decide that I'm going to pack Melissa and Adeline Grace in the car, and we're going to drive from Portland, Oregon, all the way to Kansas City, right? So I don't even have time to grieve. I'm just business oriented. We got a task. We got to get home. Now, Melissa and Adeline are sitting in the back seat. They're sleeping. So as not to wake them, I have my headphones on. And again, mind you, I haven't grieved yet, right? And I'm just listening to music. And all of a sudden, this song comes on. It's called I Will Follow You Into the Dark by Death Cab for Cutie. And it talks about, love and how this individual that we love and we value, they go on to their second life, the afterlife, and the darkness and the pain that is associated with that. But I hear that song, and in that moment, I just lose it. Like finally, I grieve. I have the opportunity to just be in my feelings and be in my emotions. Fast forward a couple hours later, I get a phone call from my mother. Now, my parents are divorced, have been since I was 1 year old. My mom, who doesn't know that my father has passed away yet, says to me, Paul, you need to think about getting home as soon as possible. Your grandmother is going to pass any day now. I said, Mom, well, isn't this convenient? I'm on my way home now. She didn't even know that my father had passed, right? So I get home just in time to see my grandmother before she passes away. And I go to 2 funerals that week. I get back into my respective office, and Mirjana, hundreds of sympathy cards from around the nation, all of our locations. And I read 3, I read 4, I read 5. And all of a sudden I'm realizing that like, this isn't helping me. And I'm not proud to say this. I haven't told a lot of people this, Mirjana, but now I'm telling everybody on LinkedIn Live. I didn't read all of those cards because I realized that reading all of those cards was getting me into a place that wasn't helping me heal. It was keeping me in this negative headspace. And so when I finally started to invest myself personally and get back to creating meaningful relationships with individuals that I worked with, well, then now I had this renewed sense of energy and enthusiasm and love and life. And that's what we all need to realize, is that everybody in your respective work has gone through something, is going through something, or will go through something. To believe that we could just shut it off and act like that doesn't exist when we walk in the door, well, that's lunacy. But if we could be so deliberate to create meaningful interactions, to generate outcomes where people could smile, laugh, or feel appreciated, if we could listen with the intent to genuinely understand, and if we could be the change that we wish to see in this world, well, then maybe, just maybe, performance would go through the roof. Attrition would die down. You would be able to find and sustain good talent. That's the power of mental health, not only securing it for yourself, but helping others in their mental health journey.
That is everything, my friend. I don't have a better wrap up than that, truly. And I'm just so grateful for the work that you're doing out there. The conversations, the keynotes, the workshops, all of it. And, I'm going to look forward to just talking more and more about you, but it is, you are a superpower, and just you as a person. And then this message that you're bringing out there it's what it's about. And everybody, the question of what's good. I mean, my kid, I told you, I have it on my board in the house. I have to take another picture. Sophia put it on another board in her closet. So when she's changing in the morning, she has the what's good framing. And I think I shared this with you. My father-in-law comes in every day in Serbian and says, "Šta je dobro?" And that is what is good. And that is, yeah.
I did not know that.
He has been doing that for years before he asked me for a shot of Slivovitz and a cappuccino. And no, he does not have an alcohol problem. Plum brandy is just part of the culture. Okay. And on that note, my friend, I thank you so much for your time. I know we went over time. Thank you for the extras. You always give of yourself, and I adore our relationship, and look forward to just seeing you on many more stages out there, sharing your message.
Love you like my own sister. I appreciate the work that you're doing. I can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.